Welcome everyone to our first live and virtual presentation of the Circle of Life Coalition. So happy that you all could be here virtually and in person. Thank you so much. My name is Deborah Nicholson. I'm the chair of the Circle of Life Coalition. And thank you for coming out on this rainy day for those of you who braved it. And as I was trying to live in my present moment, and I'm like, don't be mad at the rain. It's going to bring flowers. I read, your Galaxy phone is not connected. So I did an illegal U-turn and still got here somehow to go home and get my phone. Very important. Isn't it amazing how our phones are just like part of our person anymore, but it had to be. So this is definitely, as you know, living in the present moment presentation. I asked for some housekeeping to please mute your phones here, mute yourself. We are being recorded. You certainly can hide your face so that you're not inadvertently in the recording that goes out to everyone in a week or so. At the Circle of Life Coalition, we give an opportunity for sponsorship before our presentations in order to pay our insurances and have a little bit of coffee here and Danish. And this month, Said Spirit is our sponsor, and I'm very pleased to have Dom here to talk about us. He is now a prolific author. His second book is coming out related to some of the history of how Said Spirits came about. So we're going to give him just a couple minutes, and you can find his newsletters on our website at circleoflifecoalition.org. Dom?
Thank you, Deb. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's great to be here. I just wanted to do a shout out to talk before I talk about Circle of Said Spirit. I want to do a shout out to Circle of Life Coalition. I've been a part of this organization for many years, not only committee members, but vice chair. And I got to give a shout out to Circle Life because they do as much as they can to help educate and inform the community in all aspects of end-of-life care. And I think they perform a vital service and need for our community. And I think it's just incredible how far they've come over the years and how much they help others. Anyway, without further ado, my support group is called Said Spirit. That's an acronym for Sudden Unexpected Death of a Spouse, SUDS. Spirit being survivors and participation to inform, renew, improve, and triumph. It was formed 14 years ago. And I never would have thought a day in my life that I'd be the one that would be finding as a bereavement support group. But after struggling with 2 years after the death of my wife, I needed help and I needed it bad. And after attending personal one-on-one counseling and therapy sessions for many years, support groups, I decided to create one my own that specifically dealt with the spousal loss. So basically, we meet monthly in the Berks County area, as well as in Vermont. Believe it or not, we're multi-state. But in Berks County, we meet on the fourth Tuesday of every month, Exeter Community Library, 6 o'clock. And we have a meeting with people that come. It's free. No registration is necessary. You get handouts at every meeting, and we sit around and we talk about our emotions, our feelings, and we try to help each other heal the loss of our loved ones. I also do a quarterly newsletter that anyone can get. It's for free by email or hard copy in the regular mail. I've got some samples or copies in the back for you to pick up. Anybody listening online, of course, could always inquire me at sudspirit@gmail.com or call me at 717-866-2401. Also on the back table is a brochure about our group, which can also be sent to anybody who inquires about it. I usually write an article in all of the newsletters myself. And after many years of doing this, people ask me where they can find them all. There really wasn't a place. So I ended up writing a book called Miss You Forever. Came out about a year ago. And it's reflections after the death of a spouse. That's also available. This book's available everywhere books are sold, and also directly for me if you want a signed copy. Secondly, I just came out with a second book. It's going to hit the end of this month, be available everywhere, called In a Heartbeat. and in a heartbeat takes you on the actual journey from the time of her accident all the way up to the end of 2019. It's really a memoir of what exactly I did and how I did it to get through this. So anyway, thank you for the opportunity. I think you're going to love today's program. I've loved it when it was happening before, when it was here, and I appreciate thoughts for it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Dom, and thank you for sponsoring this morning's presentation. Definitely, if it's as good as the first book, you need to get the second. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Sister Jean Jacobchik, a Bernardine Franciscan sister. She spent her years in teaching as a high school religion teacher, later as a pastoral associate, and has spent the last 10 years teaching at the Alvernia University Seniors College. Sister has also given day retreats, religious presentations, and coordinated pilgrimage visits. Let me try that again. Pilgrimages. Okay, never mind. Presently, Sister Jean is director of Doorways of Hope, an early learning program for Hispanic children. Welcome. I'm going to put her presentation up here. Yep, I got to move this. There we go. Uh-huh. There you go. You feel good?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Here you are.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Everyone here and in the Zoom. Whoever you may be, you were probably fortunate you didn't leave your house. So anyway, I didn't either. So I can appreciate that. What I'd like to do is just share with you, as we see the beginning, the gift of the present moment, and you see a gift there. And the reason why each moment is called a gift is because it is. But the situation is, do we open the gift? And that's the question. Do you and I open the gift of the moment? Whatever that person, thing, or event might be of the moment. I had a very special experience of a spiritual director, Father Stephen. He was a Trappist monk, and he was the one who introduced me originally to the gift of the present moment. And he always said, if you don't do right the one moment, you have the next moment to do better. And so it was the person, thing, or event of each moment that we need to be open to. But as he said, if the gift is not open, therefore we don't relish, we can't savor, we can't enter into fully the moment. And we'll see more about that as we go along. And I just want to say this. Since we're living the gift of the moment, obviously everybody in this room and on Zoom has to be living the gift of the moment. So if you are on your phone doing something else, if you are planning in your head what you're going to be eating for tonight, if you're thinking about what you're going to be doing this afternoon, obviously you're not in the moment. So we all have to be in the moment now, not just because I want you to listen to me, but basically that is really living the moment, entering into it, experiencing it. Because if we do anything else, we're not in it. We're not fully in the moment. We can't get it. We don't get it. So Abraham Maslow, who is a great psychologist, he said, the ability to be in the present moment is a major component of mental wellness. Okay, so to be healthy mentally, we need to be in the moment. You know, I think here in the States, we think of, what do we think of? Oh, if I multitask, this is a wonderful thing. It's not. Because if you multitask, you're not really in the moment. Because you're watching TV, eating, looking over notes. That obviously is not in the moment because you're not savoring any one of those three things that you're trying to do at the same time. So we want to go for mental health, good mental health. It is possible to live happily in the present moment. It is the only moment we have. What happened an hour ago is gone, it's finished. Never to be returned except in our mind. And it's in the mind where we have the problem. If you live in your thoughts and not live in the moment, a lot of things happen, a lot of stress. It's the only moment we have. And believe it, if we talk about God, the only time we can meet God is in the moment. It's only now. And that's when we begin to meet God, is in the present moment. Because God isn't in the past and he's not in the future. He's only in the present. Mindfulness. You've probably heard about this. It's become very, very popular in a lot of areas. Mindfulness, of course, and a lot of people who have PTSD, a lot of service people who come back and who have experienced a lot of horrific things. I'm just wondering, all the people in Ukraine right now who might be experiencing and witnessing all these tortured dead bodies and have to take them and bury them, and all of those horrendous things that they're experiencing if they're not going to have this problem. But there are doctors in hospitals and in different rehab centers who are trying to gift people with mindfulness and to help them to deal with those flashbacks that often come into play at any time in their life. And we know what that can do. So many people have committed suicide because of those experiences. So what is mindfulness? It's being mindful, is being aware. We're aware. Here I am right now in the Glenn Conference Center or in my house somewhere. Okay, I'm aware of where I am. Who am I? And how are we witnessing the presence? Okay. So the point that I want to make is that being mindful is constantly, consciously being in the moment. So if you're doing anything else right now at this moment, besides maybe taking notes, you're not living in the moment. Does your mind look like this? A cluttered mind, a cluttered attic. This is what happens when we're in the moment and we're thinking of 1,000,001 things at the same time. Cluttered attic doesn't look good. And a mind that's cluttered isn't at peace. We want to live in a state of peace. Living the gift of the moment is living in a state of peace. Peace of mind, peace of heart. Here we are, ruminating and rehashing the past. If we live constantly in the past and you're rehashing what you've experienced. Could be guilt, regret, resentment, grievances, sadness, bitterness, and all forms of non-forgiveness are such that they prevent us from living in the present. This is Eckhart Tolle, by the way. His quote here comes from his book called Now. And if you want to be able to continue this, if you're interested, you might want to purchase the book Now, because he talks about what it is to live in the present moment, in the now. I have to say that I unfortunately had experiences like this. My biggest problem was rehashing the past. So I know what that's like. And I know what kind of misery that can be in your mind. Somewhere along the line, I started doing it. And I would recall incidences, things that were not happy experiences, things that people did to me or said to me or whatever. And I would bring that in to the moment, to the present moment. And I realized through spiritual direction, etc., how harmful and toxic that was for me. It's very toxic. It's like a cancer that grows, especially if we're rehashing something, not necessarily from what somebody said an hour ago or maybe a week ago. How about years ago? And we keep bringing that back, keep bringing it back and bringing it back. And what that does, it disturbs the reality of who we are at the moment. And the moment, whatever it is, it could be a happy moment, but we're not truly happy. Because we're bringing this regret, maybe this resentment that we carry. And you know, I often think about this. When somebody has said something or done something to us that hurt us, they're finished with it. They've said it, they've done it, it's over for them. But for us, we keep bringing it back, we keep reliving it and reliving something that was out there. Should have been let go a long time ago. But we choose, for whatever reason, to keep bringing it back. I discovered how unhealthy this was for me. And by blessings with that, and also with doing a prayer called centering prayer, in which one actually sits in silence for at least 20 minutes and allows nothing to come in, that when a thought comes in, you know, you say a sacred word, and that sacred word also leads you to the fact that the realization that God is working within you. So I believe I was healed a lot from the various things, from doing the centering prayer for probably a good 15 years at this point. So actually ruminating and rehashing the past is what destroys our present moment. Italian word, agita. Agita is unease, anxiety, tension, stress, worry, all forms of fear. It's caused by too much future and not enough presence. So we can go, some people might rehash, as I did, rehash the past. Other people have a tendency to fear the future. They stress out about the future. What's going to happen? What's going to happen a week from now? What's going to happen a month from now? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Again, bringing toxicity into the present moment. Because I'm sure all of us in our lived experiences have found that, did you worry about something? Did it happen? Did it actually happen? No. A lot of times, whatever we worried about really didn't occur. or it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. So we were in that these stressful thoughts, thinking about what could be, what will be, maybe, maybe not. All of those things destroy your peace of the present moment. Because you can't think. You can't think clearly. I often think about this, when something happens, and if you're at peace, then you can think of a solution. You can say, okay, all right, okay, this is good. But when you're stressed out, can't think. So that's the point of living in the moment. Living in the moment and the big thing is being at peace with yourself and with others. One of my favorite sayings is, it is what it is. I think that gives me a great sense of peace, because something that happens, particularly if it's something that is unpleasant or is painful, it is what it is. Can I change it? Can I make it different? It happened. Therefore, it is. So to be able just to say that it is what it is. Okay, now I'm here. What can I do about it? But what I like about it is when I was doing this course a while ago at the senior college, one of the women brought me a placard that said, it is what it is, but it will become what you make of it. And so I thought that was really great. So whatever happens, happens, but it will become what we choose to make of it. Or am I going to get upset? Am I going to get, everything is going to get distorted in this upsetment of mine? Or am I going to just find a pleasant, easy solution? And there's always a solution. By the way, if somebody wants to, I didn't say this earlier, but if anybody wants to make a comment now in the course of my talking, feel free if you want to choose to do that. Yes?
What do people feel they're going to gain by doing all of that? Not reminiscing, but ruminating. Like, why do they keep doing it when they realize at some point it's not going to be productive?
I don't know. It's just a habit. It's a bad habit. It's a very, very bad habit. I don't know if anybody thinks about what they're going to gain from it. I just sometimes, maybe they think it's comfortable. I don't know. Maybe they find a comfort in it. I'm trying to think of myself, Did I find comfort in saying, oh, I remember what this person did to me?
Because I myself do it, but I have a person in mind that I hear her repeatedly do it a lot. And I never know what to say. I listen, but I don't know how to comfort her or make it any better. And I don't want to disagree, but I feel like I'm at a loss.
Yeah, well, sometimes you can just listen, but also you could very gently make a comment. You probably can, but a lot of times people have to grow into this themselves. There has to be an acknowledgement that this is not the best for me. I mean, I've seen that too. When you have negative thinking all the time, when you're surrounded by people who have negative thinking, it's very difficult to be around them. It's very difficult, but it's a bad habit to get into, very bad. So the present moment can only be as it is. Trying to change it only frustrates and exhausts you. So you can understand that. I wish it was, well, you could wish everything, you could wish it till kingdom come. But if it is what it is, only, trying to make it different or wishing that it would be different is only going to frustrate and exhaust you. So if you've ever experienced any of that, and I'm sure we all have, because we want something to be a certain way. I think one of the hardest things too for some people is that when they want something and they they decide that this is the way it's going to be. And I often think that God laughs at that. Because we absolutely do not know what is going to be or what's going to happen. And we frustrate ourselves because we want it this day. It has to be done on this day. It has to be done this way. It's got to be done without opening ourselves to what can happen, which is the gift of the moment that often gives us a good solution. So acceptance is very, very important, extremely important. Don't expect experience. I'm going to tell you this. I heard this. I was on retreat. It was 20 years ago. I was in Rhode Island at Narragansett Pier. I was in a retreat house. And it was a wonderful retreat right by the water. And every morning I would get up very early, take a shower, get dressed, get in the car, and go to Point Judith and watch the sunrise. And I used to take a camera out there. I wanted to see that sunrise. So on this particular retreat, I was doing a lot of journaling, and I felt like I was having this conversation with Jesus back and forth, okay? So I'm writing, and Jesus says to me, the sunrise tomorrow is for you. I said, how can the sunrise only be for me? I mean, isn't it for everybody? And I said that a few times, but I went, well, that particular morning, there were a lot of clouds. You see the clouds over there on the right side of it. And it took a while for the sun to actually break through the clouds. And when I finally saw the sun breaking through, I heard the words, don't expect experience. Don't expect the sunrise to be this way. Just experience whatever it is. That was living in the moment. God was teaching me living in the moment. Experience what is. You know, sometimes, we could be driving along and you see this beautiful scenery and you get very taken up with it. But if you get so taken up with that scenery, you miss the one that's coming. It works that way too, not to be so hung up on one thing that you can't experience the next that's coming. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it makes sense to you, but it's that whole idea with this, just savor the moment. Savor whatever it is that you are experiencing. You're going to see a quote later from Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't know if any of you are familiar with. He's a Buddhist monk, very famous, wrote a lot of books, spoke a lot to various people. He just died last year. I happened to find on YouTube his funeral, which was very interesting, a Buddhist funeral. But his whole sense in the Buddhist world was mindfulness and savoring even the food that we eat. You know how we gobble food? We eat quickly to get it over and done with. And Thich Nhat Hanh would say, take the food and savor it. Sometimes I think about other countries. If you've ever traveled like to Italy or to France, some of the others, and I remember when I was there, they live very differently than we do in the cities. Everything for us is productivity. How much can I produce? How much can I get done? But their point is, how much can we live and savor? They work in the morning, they eat a big meal, they have a siesta, they take time. I remember when we were in Siena, where our patron saint lives, Saint Bernardine of Siena. And I remember we were there during siesta time, and we went to his oratory, and we rang the doorbell, and the woman said, we said, Cusa, I said, we're from the United States. She said, who cares? This is siesta time for us. You know what I mean? This is the time to relax, to rest. Then we go back to work. Okay. It's that whole idea of relax, enjoy enjoy what you're eating. Sit there and eat that pasta and enjoy it. You know, savor the taste of it. Savor the company that you're with and that you're sharing this with. So it's that whole idea of, sometimes I think too, thinking of some other experiences where, you know, you're cooking, you're with somebody and your grandchildren are with you maybe, and you're cooking, they're talking to you and you're not really listening to them. When I was having class at the senior college, everybody was, most of them were grandparents, and they identified with that, and they said that's very true, because what's going to be important that someday those grandchildren are going to remember the things you did with them, what you said to them, what you taught them, what you showed them, how wonderful that is for them, so that you need to be present to these little children and to take the time. And you'd be surprised, because I know I'm with 3.5 to 5-year-olds 3 times a week. I know what that age level is like, and those children sop up things and they remember and they're inquisitive and they are present in the moment. They are truly present in the moment. We can learn from them in so many ways, you know. One of the women, I gave them an assignment, because this was like maybe a 5-week, once a week we met 5 times. And I gave them an assignment that they had to go home and they had to spend a half hour, even maybe an hour, just being present in the moment. And this one woman came back and she said she went to her little grandson's little league and the game. And she said, no, normally when she would go, she'd be talking with somebody next to her. She really wasn't watching. But she decided that that was the moment that she was going to really savor it and really be present. And it so happened that her grandson hit a home run that game. Well, not only did she see it, but she was able to enjoy and relish with him the excitement that he had made a home run. So it was a beautiful experience that both of them could experience together, and something that she could remember and he would remember of how excited she was for him. So there are so many things that we lose when we're not present in the moment. And so I just throw out some of these examples to you. I'm sure you've got enough in your own life experience. You are not your thoughts. Remember what we said about being in your mind. If we're rehashing, if we're worried about the future, we're in our thoughts. We're living out of our thoughts. I mean, do you get that? We're living out of our thoughts, but we're not really living the moment, because we're in our mind. And that mind is not real, because it's something that happened before, or it's something that may or may not happen in the future. So we're in our thoughts in here, but not living the actual moment of being present to everybody. You know, when you're on the computer and somebody's talking to you, were you ever on the phone with somebody and you knew they were doing something when you were talking to them? Did you like that? No. Because you knew they weren't really being present to you. They were half present to you. And we all do that. We all do those things, where we're not really present to the person there, to the person, thing, or event. But the big thing is we live in our thoughts. Okay, you could be living in your thoughts right now. Nobody may know it, but it's you, only you know that. Okay. Here's Thich Nhat Hanh. There is no purpose in getting anywhere if, when you get there, all you do is think about yet another future moment. Does that make sense? There is no purpose in getting anywhere if, when you're there, all you do is think about yet another future moment. It's like going to, maybe you're planning on some kind of a trip. And you go on the trip, but you're thinking about what you're going to be doing later. You're not enjoying the trip, not enjoying the people you're with. Not completely. It takes time to do this, by the way, you know that. To actually live the present moment takes effort, takes time to really do this. It's nice to hear this, but you need to put it into practice. And that's hard for some people, especially when you're older and you've had a long, many years of doing the opposite, trying to make it happen. This is my favorite part. You'll see why. Don't you love that? I love it. Anyway, whenever people would be my PowerPoints, they always knew it was the end, because the one before always was the curtain for the last one. Okay. So we wait and hope for that magical moment, always sometime in the future, when everything will be as we want it to be. See, what we want it to be. Frustration happens when things happen not what we want it to be. When we make the choice. But that's not what happens. We forget that life is available only in the present moment. It's the only way, the only, there was a statement once when I saw, this is referring to God now. Jesus didn't say, I am who was, I am who will be. He said, I am who am. So God is only in the present moment, and this is the only place where we meet God, is in the moment. So the big thing is, if we can remember, we don't want to leave, we don't want to go somewhere where we've already been. It's over and done with, it's finished. Let it go. Think of Frozen, the movie Frozen. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Okay. Let it go. All right. And then we don't want to think about the future and worry and be concerned, because things always work out, don't they? Things work out. And if we place ourselves in God's presence, God's love, God's care, He's always with us. So, so that is it. So I will leave on that note. We've got 5 minutes. If anybody wants to give a question, make a comment, please feel free.
I just have one thing. My biggest problem is control. Control, and if I don't control how it's going to work out, that it didn't work out the right way. And then I find out, as I get older, I'm finding out that it doesn't necessarily work anymore, because what I get, I really didn't need or should have had. But that is the big thing for me, control. I find if I surrender, let it go, and I really work hard at that, and I do use, well, ego. My ego gets in the way, and ego stands for easing God out.
Right.
So, that's a biggie. Got to control. I'm an Aries. I don't know if you know about birth signs, but we are control freaks. I want it, and I'm going to figure out how to get it. Anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah, I think the control, anybody who loves to control has a problem. Because you want to determine what's the outcome, and we can't control that. So, I mean, that's basically, anyone else want to make a comment? Dominic?
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to comment that I experienced a lot of what you had said, similar to the point of I was holding on to something I didn't know was affecting me and hurting me. And it was a factor that it took me 6 years to figure it out. And after 6 years, I finally came to the conclusion of what it was. And it was very difficult to do, but I was able to forgive. And forgiveness, if you can do it, it's a wonderful thing. But if you are holding something within you that is really wreaking a havoc in your life, I certainly wasn't living in the present with those thoughts I had. And I look back at that time and think, why didn't I come to terms with that way before the 6 years? And I finally, after I was able to forgive, and it was the forgiveness of the driver that took my wife's life, I held on to the anger for him. And then I finally was able to forgive him. And I just felt uplifted and spiritual, like I was back. And so since I've lived in the present, I try my best to live in the present, but to what Gary said, it's difficult to change sometimes things like that. And when you know your deficiencies, it's even more difficult to try to make it better.
Yeah.
But thank you for your presentation and your wonderful comments. I think your message is timeless.
Thank you. Yes. Well, that's that toxicity we were talking about. That's not going to be too.
Much like Gary, I too struggle with control. And being a young professional, I don't always have the ability to let go of the future. My responsibilities get in my way. But what you said about the centering prayer really resonated with me. The serenity prayer helped me during a very difficult time in my life when I was trying to contend with not only personal responsibilities, professional commitments, and just the hectic demands of life, being able to really focus on what mattered, what do I have power over, and letting go of the things that got in the way really helped heal. So thank you, sister.
Oh, you're welcome. The serenity prayer is a beautiful prayer. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. If you're interested, do you know anything about serenity prayer?
A little. I've been exposed to breathwork meditation, and that's very similar.
Yes.
I'm comforted that there's hope for all of us in this room because obviously we're not kiddos anymore. But my question would be, what can we do to capture and have our young ones keep that ability to remain present in the moment? Because I'm hearing what I need to do, but what can I do to help the next bunch?
Well, your example.
I knew you were going to say something like that.
It's your example. I mean, when they see you savoring and enjoying and being present, they too will learn that this is important. But I think we're born that way. We get destroyed along the way. I don't know if I want to say the word destroyed, probably is not a good word. But we get tainted. We get tainted by other people and life, etc. I believe we're born that way because little children, absolutely live in the moment. They're there playing, they're doing their little thing. They're not thinking about anything. They're just very present to whatever it is. So I think they have it naturally, but we get tainted. So I think the important thing is to try to keep allowing ourselves to go back to how God originally gave us that gift, to being open to the moment. We were born that way.
I prefer to call it corruption.
Oh, corruption.
Yes, in this day and age with media and everything. I have a 9-year-old little girl,
Uh-huh.
so I'm really working hard to do that. I'll find myself telling her things and then, wait a minute, you can't do that. You know, she can't live her life like that.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway.
Yeah, that's very true. Anyone else? I make a comment.
Can you just ask anybody to put in the chat if they have a
Is
question?
there anybody on Zoom that might be interested in making a comment or a question?
Put it in the chat box.
Put it in the chat room.
Okay, all right. Any tips or other tricks that you can think of to help? I know there maybe you don't have time to do a prayer or breathing meditation thing, but any other little tidbits that you've learned along the way?
Well, it's just being open, making a concerted effort to be open to the moment. I mean, it's an effort that one must make to be open to what it is that's happening to the person, thing, or event. Try not to do something else. I mean, it's simple enough, but yet we have to keep reminding ourselves over and over and over to do it. And it's not easy in the beginning, because I know it wasn't easy for me.
Right.
And sometimes I would do maybe even a mantra would be to say something that would help you to, you know, to recall where it is, you know, or even just to say it is what it is.
Mhm.
I mean, that kind of is important, not to get upset about whatever happens at the time, you know.
Yeah. Just personally, my daughter's wedding's coming in September, and it's a whole big week event. And I'm like, we plan and plan and plan, and we're so caught up in the details. And I want to enjoy it. Oh my goodness, how am I going to stop myself and say, okay, there's chaos around us, but you know, so that helped. That's
Yeah, it
good.
really does,
Yeah,
because
sure.
what's the point of that wonderful celebration
Right.
if everybody's been out of shape?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's
I'm
kind
gonna
of like,
have to have my daughter watch this recording.
you know, I mean, you can't really enjoy that precious moment, and that's a precious moment, or,
It
you know.
is, yeah.
So, you know, you really need to, you know, you have to sit down before and relax. I keep saying to people, relax, relax.
I think, you know what, I think we're gonna build some things in. Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe build some things into, especially that day, of just like centering ourselves. And
Yeah,
okay, that's a good idea.
really, so that when you come down, when, you know, when she walks down that aisle, everybody's like, oh,
Mhm.
breathing well, you know, it's wonderful, it's a delightful time, you know what I mean? So that, I think, is really, you know, very important.
Okay, we have a thank you in the chat. No real comments or anything, but this was very much needed today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate coming and doing this, and thank you, Dominic, for remembering that I did this umpteen years ago. And so it was kind of, it's one of my favorite topics. I've done this many times. So it's wonderful, and to try to live it and be present in the moment, it is a great thing. So thank you for inviting me, and many, many blessings to all of you. Can we just take a moment just to pray for our brothers and sisters in Ukraine? Lord Jesus, we thank you and we praise you, and we just ask you to bless our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, all of those who have had to flee the country, where they are in all the different countries. We pray for all those people who in their generosity and kindness have taken people in, and who have given of themselves in so many ways. Jesus, we ask you to be with them, and Mother Mary, we ask you to place your protective mantle over them. And we ask this always in Jesus' name. Amen.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you for who answered the poll online. Certainly address people in the audience here. Any comments? We don't have a poll here today, but let us know what you thought when we're finished. For next month, we have It's Possible, Honoring Grief and Celebrating Special Occasions. We all know how hard that is to do after the loss of a loved one. So Sister Patrice Clausing will be here next month for that presentation. I think it's hugely important. Sponsored by CUNY Funeral Home. We thank again our sponsor, Said Spirits and Dom, for the presentation today. And also, if you have any questions, you can email us through our website at circleoflifecoalition.org. Sister Sean has an announcement too. Or something.
In the spirit of the topic, it resonated with me. You're under the roof where there's 38 sisters living, and we have the spiritual center. We have 4 guest rooms, full bathroom. I shouldn't tell you, the wireless also, your own bed and all that. And a number of people do come for overnight retreats or 3 days. Ruth has been coming for years from Lancaster. So you're welcome to contact the office, and we'd be happy to accommodate you. Now, during the month of June, that will not happen. We're having an international congregational meeting, which we invite you to pray for us for that. And we also have 5 spiritual directors, I'll say on site. There's a spiritual director room. None of them really live here, but there's a Episcopalian woman, a sister, and lay people. They're all certified. I'm certified, but not that way. So they're all certified. So if you need to contact our office through our website, feel free. My number is 484-334-6807. That's the office. 484-334-6807 if you'd like to make the reservations. It's about $85 a night. And the spiritual director, they have a sliding scale, and you negotiate with them what it would be. So we'd be happy to have you. It's a spiritual center, and the Franciscans say the world is our cloister. So welcome to our cloister.
Thank you. And she's here all night. You get to meet Sister Sean if you come and have her retreat here. If you'd like to volunteer for our organization, we're always looking for energy and ideas and just help in our mission. Please also write to us through the circleoflifecoalition.org. And if you'd like to help to donate and you shop on Amazon, you can choose us on Amazon Smile for a portion of your purchases. All right, did I forget anything, friends? No. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here.